we're all connected. We're all connected. And people saying, we feel your grief. Or some people would be more explicit and say, I lost my son or I lost my wife. These tragic circumstances. And it was really bolstering. It really was.
Every winter for the past 15 years, a 72-year-old man stands alone in fresh snow, brushing white powder from a gravestone. The name carved there belongs to the woman he loved more than life itself. He speaks to her softly, tells her about their sons, about how the winters still feel too long. She doesn't answer. She never will. But he keeps coming back. That man is Liam Neeson, and what happened to him will shatter you. You know him as the guy with the particular set of skills from Taken, the voice that could command a room without rising above a whisper, the action hero who somehow makes you believe a man in his 60s can take down an entire criminal organization. But strip away the fame, the $145 million net worth, the iconic roles, and you'll find something far more powerful. A man who's endured more heartbreak than most of us will face in 10 lifetimes. This is the story of a boy who learned to fight at 9 just to prove he existed, who slept in his coat because heating was a luxury, who watched helplessly as the love of his life slipped away while machines beeped their mechanical goodbye. Before we dive in, hit that like button, not for the algorithm, but as a tribute to a man who turned every loss into a masterclass in what it really means to keep standing. Born into silence, June 7th, 1952. Ballymena, Northern Ireland. A town where rain doesn't fall so much as it settles into your bones, and being Catholic in a Protestant neighborhood means feeling like a stranger in your own home. Liam Neeson was born into a 3-room house with 6 people, walls so thin you could hear your own loneliness echo back. His father swept school hallways. He could never afford to send his son to his mother, cooked for other people's children, coming home with hands scalded red from dishwater, hoping the leftovers would stretch. No fights, no shouting, just the quiet distance that poverty builds between 2 people too tired to dream. Liam was the only boy among 3 sisters. Where they filled rooms with laughter, he filled them with observation, watching, listening, absorbing. His Aunt Molly said something that would define his entire life. He liked to keep to himself, but if he wanted something, he'd go through a wall to get it. At 9, his father sent him to a church boxing club, desperate to keep silence from swallowing the boy whole. The place smelled like sweat and salvation. By 14, he was a youth champion 3 years running. Then came the night that changed everything. Under flickering lights, a fist he never saw coming. His head snapped back. The world went white, then soundless. My brain just went, he recalled. It was very, very scary. When sound returned, it came like thunder. He walked away from boxing that night and never looked back. Some wounds don't bleed, but they carve you hollow just the same. After that, rain became his companion. The steady drum on tin roofs, the sound of being poor, he once said. You never forget that sound. The years. Nobody saw. At 17, he left home with a suitcase and a coat that had seen better decades. Belfast in the 70s was all steel and smoke, a city that ground men down to their bones. He drove trucks through freezing rain, hauled crates until his hands bled, shoveled gravel until his back screamed. At night, he'd return to a room no bigger than a closet. When winter came, he slept in his coat with his shoes on. He tried university once, St. Mary's College, dreaming of becoming a teacher. But dreams require money, and when you're counting pennies before buying bread, education becomes impossible. By 30, he was broke and furious with himself, staring at cracked mirrors, wondering if survival was all life had to offer. Then, 1976 whispered its promise. He got a job sweeping stages at the Lyric Players Theater. Within weeks, the janitor became an actor. 2 lines. That's all they gave him, But in those 2 lines lived every silent scream he'd swallowed for 30 years. The 80s were brutal. Casting directors said the same thing. Too intense, too rough, too Irish. His eyes carried too much sadness for romance. Between rejections, he recorded radio ads, that iconic voice selling products he couldn't afford. I was close to giving up, he admitted. I was 30, broke, and angry with myself. Then, Steven Spielberg saw what others missed while casting Schindler's List in 1993. He had charm, strength, and sorrow all at once. For 110 days, Neeson lived inside Oskar Schindler's guilt. After filming the liquidation scene, he sat alone in his hotel room, chain-smoking in the dark, too shaken to sleep. It took months to feel like myself again. The film won 7 Oscars. But fame doesn't heal loneliness. It just makes your silence louder. 1981, the set of Excalibur. That's where he met Helen Mirren, luminous and fearless, everything his bruised soul wasn't. For 4 years, they built something beautiful in a London flat filled with laughter and cheap wine that tasted like honesty. She taught him he belonged in the world, but as his star rose, so did the whispers that he was riding her coattails. Pride built walls where love had lived. One winter night, she packed while he watched in silence. "We were not meant to be together," she said softly, "but I loved him very, very much." Then came Julia Roberts in 1988, 20 years old, all fire and sunlight. For a brief moment, she made him feel young again. But her star rose too fast as she packed for another city, he said quietly. "You'll be wonderful." She turned, smiled sadly, and answered, "You already were." Then, 1993 arrived, Broadway, Anna Christie. Across from him stood Natasha Richardson, daughter of theatrical royalty with quiet confidence and a smile that could silence doubt. In rehearsal, they barely spoke, but the pauses between lines became their own language. By opening night, they weren't acting anymore. They married in 1994 in Millbrook, New York. Candlelight instead of cameras, rain on windows. "For the first time in my life, I can breathe," he told a friend. Michael arrived in 1995, Daniel a year later. Their home filled with toys, lopsided cakes, a wooden swing that never hung straight, but the boys didn't care. Those 15 years were ordinary in the most extraordinary way. Natasha reading on the couch when he came home, boys sprawled beside her. She'd look up, smile, and say, "You're just in time for tea." She had a way of making hard days gentle. That house felt like stillness, a place where time finally stopped running. The daytime stopped. March 2009, a day so bright it felt immune to sorrow. Natasha went skiing near Montreal, a beginner slope, a simple fall, a bump, a smile. She brushed it off. Hours later, the headache came and didn't leave. He was in Toronto filming when the call came. The phone slipped in his hand. The world narrowed to one word: accident. When he reached the hospital, a doctor took him aside, eyes already apologizing. "Her brain is dead." He walked into her room expecting life, but Natasha lay still, serene, as if sleeping. He touched her hand. "Sweetie, you're not coming back from this for hours." He sat beside her, speaking softly. "You're safe. You're loved. You can go." Years earlier, they'd promised if one could no longer return, the other would let them go. He nodded to the doctors. The machine stopped. The silence wasn't quiet. It was absence. Natasha's organs were donated, saving 3 lives. "She's keeping 3 people alive," he said quietly. "I think she would have wanted that." But when that machine stopped, something inside him stopped too. "I think I died that day," he confessed, "but I kept breathing because she would have wanted me to." The long echo after, he moved through the world like a ghost. Friends said his eyes looked hollow. He worked, because stillness was unbearable. If I stop, I'll hear the silence again. Taken, The Gray, movies that looked like action but were really confessions. Sleep became a stranger. Every hotel room the same, beds too big for one person, air conditioning trying to fill the void. He tried dating Freya Street Johnston for 2 years. But grief is jealous. They let each other go quietly. After Natasha's death, whiskey became anesthesia, a bottle at 6, another before midnight. But one morning, he looked in the mirror and saw someone he didn't recognize. That day, he stopped. I needed to show my boys how to keep standing. Michael eventually changed his last name to Richardson. He did the right thing, Liam said. It was a lovely homage. Daniel stayed close, steady, the calm shadow beside him. What remains? At 72, Liam Neeson lives between New York and the countryside home he once shared with Natasha. He's quietly supported UNICEF, Amnesty International, refugees, children in crisis. Recently, rumors suggest companionship with Pamela Anderson. Neither has confirmed anything, but photos showed genuine warmth. When asked about love, he said, "I'm past all that, but maybe a different kind of light is finding its way back." Every winter, he visits Natasha's resting place, brushes snow from her name, talks to her about their sons, new films, how winters still feel too long. Sometimes he swears he hears her answer in the wind. Some loves don't fade. They become the air that follows you, the silence that shapes you, the warmth that never leaves your bones. Liam Neeson's story isn't about survival. It's about grace under unimaginable weight. What remains isn't wealth or fame. What remains is humanity in its rawest form. People love him not because he's indestructible, but because he isn't. In his silence, his scars, his refusal to surrender, he reminds us that real strength isn't about how loud you roar, it's about how quietly you endure. So what have you endured that nobody knows about? What loss shaped who you are? Drop your thoughts below. Every story of resilience deserves to be heard. And if this moved you, hit subscribe as a reminder that even legends are human, and even humans can become legends simply by refusing to give up.